and welcome to my YouTube channel Bloom with Ansa, a platform for holistic growth. Today's topic is science of manifestation. I have been a student of science of manifestation, of law of attraction, and everything in between for almost a decade now. And what excites me the most about today's guest is that he has developed a step-by-step process to manifest our thoughts into our physical reality. Our today's guest is Ron Mathews. Ron Mathews is a modern-day Renaissance man. He's a martial arts master who has practiced and taught since 1972. In his professional career, Ron was an engineer and physicist working for MIT Draper Laboratories, Cisco Systems, and was a technical lead for Raytheon's electromagnetic environmental effects group. The most exciting part is Ron's deep understanding of electromagnetics and his fascination with an elusive human internal energy that the Chinese called qi, that he gained from his decades-long study of the martial arts, led him to apply these seemingly unrelated fields of study to crack the ancient code for transmuting one's thoughts into physical reality. Ron has helped hundreds of people to transform their lives using this system, and today he's going to share that system with all of us. He has named it Master the Science of Miracles, a reliable, repeatable, step-by-step process for transforming your thoughts into your physical reality. So let's begin this conversation with Ron and learn from him what is this very simple step-by-step yet comprehensive system that if we understand and apply it properly, we can transform our thoughts into our physical reality. I'm super excited about it, and I'm sure you are too. So let's do it. Welcome, Ron, and thank you so much for taking the time to have this podcast with us. How are you?
Oh, better and better. Thank you, Ansa. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to your audience today.
You're very welcome. And now I'm going to borrow this, mantra from you, better and better, because usually we say very traditional way, very American way. Yeah, I'm doing great, or I'm doing fine, or not bad. Right. But this new mantra that I'm learning from you every time we speak, better and better. That's how I am feeling now.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So what is the science that you were telling me earlier? I'm so sorry, and I regret why I didn't press the record button earlier to capture that, because what you shared with me is so powerful. And I want you to share for our audience as well. What is the science and why we should be saying better and better instead of just saying not bad?
Sure. Well, the science comes from a psychologist back in the 19th century, a French psychologist whose name was Emile Coué. And he found that when he trained his patients to start every morning by saying every day and in every way, I am getting better, better, and better, his patients who adopted that as a daily practice actually experienced a material increase in the quality of their lives. So, a little less than 100 years later, a very clever person by the name of Jose Silva adopted that and put it into his systems, and he even took it further. And he taught his students. I'm actually a certified trainer in Jose's Ultramind system, and he taught us that whenever someone asks you how are you doing, you respond by saying better and better. So why is that? Well, your subconscious takes every word you say as a command. And so the subconscious also does a lousy job of processing a negative. So when you said to me, well, how you doing? I say, not bad. Well, I've just told my subconscious, I'm giving it the command that I am doing badly. Not bad. Didn't hear not. It just operated on bad. So that is a way to constantly reinforce a direction of improvement. Not better and better is dynamic. No matter how I'm doing, I'm always doing better and better. And so when I reinforce that in my subconscious goes into a state called the transderivational search. And it looks for situations, circumstances that render the command you gave it satisfied. And so better and better is constantly renewed. How many times a day does somebody ask me how I'm doing? I can't count. I always say better and better. So now my friends and my students will say, I'm not going to ask you how you're doing because I know you're doing better and better. You know, you're right. I am doing better and better. So that's why.
Awesome. And it shows, right, in your life, being a successful physicist and now venturing on this another super successful path. Definitely, it shows that it had implications on your life, that you are doing better and better, right?
Yeah, constantly. Yeah, these things are organic and they kind of sneak up on you. And so, taking the long view from my career as a physicist and engineer to the present, I'm actually right now living my best life. It took me almost 60 years to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And I'm going to be 70 in October. So, but it's never too late. I did the job I did because I was good at it. I like numbers. Numbers make sense to me. And so the higher math was not easy, but it wasn't as difficult as it was for some people. But that was not my calling. That's what I'm doing now, is I finally found my true calling.
That's beautiful. Congratulations. And I
know thank you.
It's a very satisfactory place to be in your life when you know what was your calling and you are on that path already, right? So going back a little bit, I love how we started this episode, but as a tradition, we start with a signature question for our audience to know what they will be getting from this podcast. So if I ask you this signature question, what would our audience take away from this episode and how it will change their lives?
What I would like your viewers to take away from our time here together is the fact that they have far more power and far more agency over their lives than they have ever been allowed to believe or ever dared to hope that they had. And this is reinforced in all the mystery schools and the world religions from antiquity, that the power we possess, the thing we seek, is inside of us. Ali made a statement where he asked the question, dost thou reckon thyself but a puny form when within thee the universe is enfolded? And that is what I want people to take away, that you're way more powerful. And that's what Master the Science of Miracles is for, is to actually give a reliable, repeatable, step-by-step process for being able to manifest your desired outcomes reliably and repeatably.
Beautiful. And would you like to walk us through your own personal journey? Because I'm intrigued, by your
Sure.
journey. So
well, thank you.
Through that.
Thank you. I'm always afraid I'm going to bore people with my long history of how I got to where I am now. But as you mentioned, I was a career physicist and engineer for 35 years. I worked at MIT Draper Laboratories. I was an engineering consultant for Cisco Systems, and I was technical lead for Raytheon's electromagnetic environmental effects group. And that was how I made my living. I put food on the table that way. But my passion since 1972 was to understand what it means to be human, truly and completely human. And I started off my journey by beginning the study of the martial arts, strangely enough, in 1972, as a matter of survival. Everybody probably knows of someone or may have been someone as a child who got beat up by bullies 3 or 4 times a week, and that was me. All of us. I think any of us who are in this space have come from that legacy. And I was a nice little kid who wanted to read his comic books and watch cartoons, and I was raised in a redneck town in southern Vermont. And so I was a target. And now, several decades later, looking back, I realized that the reason I was a target is because of my being an empath. And that scares people. We have a different vibration than most, and people sense that, and it frightens them. And so they beat us up. And by the grace of God, I discovered the martial arts through a very serendipitous set of events, and fell in love with the martial arts, not so much the fighting part, because that I stopped being enamored with that once the bullies realized they couldn't pick on me anymore because they got hurt when they did. But as my skill increased, I became aware and intrigued by this mysterious internal energy. I call it a vital life force energy. If you are a yogini, then you know it as prana. If you are a practitioner of Qigong or Tai Chi or any of the Chinese martial arts or medicine, it's known as Qi. In the Polynesian shamanism, it's known as mana, and there are as many names for it as there are stars in the sky. And I became enamored with that because it allowed, by being able to tap into that and to make use of that, it allowed me to do things that were beyond the scope of someone of my physical stature. Excuse me 1 second, I gotta turn off my break reminder here.
No problem.
So I was not a big kid, never was I a big kid. And so, but once I understood how this worked, I was able to do things that I couldn't believe I could do. And that energy is the energy that animates practices like acupuncture or Ayurvedic medicine from India. This is the same energy, and it turns out that it is ubiquitous. According to shamanic culture, everything is alive, everything has life. From the minerals all the way to the humans and beyond, in the angelic realm. All of the elements of our universe have life of some sort. So learning to respect that, and more importantly, learning to use that to good effect, that became my motivation. And so, and through another long series of serendipitous events, that led me to where I am now. Because when I, later on, 20 years ago or so, when I met one of my teachers, whose name is Donna Eden, she's a world-famous energy healer, I realized with talking to her that my passion for electromagnetics and my passion for developing this energy collided, because Qi, or mana, is not inconsistent. I'm being very careful on how I choose my words here, because it's very important that we understand this. This energy is not inconsistent with the laws of electromagnetics as expressed by Maxwell's equations. However, there's more to it than can be expressed by left brain physics. So anyway, that's the 50,000 foot view of the fully actualized self-sensitive new age guy you see before you today.
Awesome. This is wonderful, and this has sparked so many questions for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, right?
I like questions.
Awesome. So let me ask you with this question first. Help us understand the vibrations, right? What do you mean by vibration, and how the vibrations affect us? Do we emit vibrations? As you said, the entire universe is alive, and I understand it as an intelligent, alive universe that we live in, that we are made of, which includes the atoms of our body,
Exactly.
this microphone, this computer, these cameras, everything is right. So can you help us understand on a very basic level what vibration is, And what do you mean by energy being alive or the field being alive around?
Sure. Well, vibration is if you play a guitar, for instance, or a harp or a mandolin, whatever. When you pluck the string vibrates at whatever frequency you've tuned it to. So in Western music, when you have a guitar, the basic basis for it is 440 hertz. It's called A440. That means that it's vibrating at 440 cycles per second. So imagine that everything is in vibration. Our bodies, on average, are composed of between 50 and 100 trillion cells. And each one of those cells is composed variously of around 100 billion atoms. Each cell is 100 billion atoms. So if let's take a hydrogen atom, for example. That's the simplest one. It's one nucleus and one electron. One proton, one neutron, one electron. If you were to expand that atom to a place where the size of the nucleus was about the size of a ping pong ball, and you were to I live in Boston, so my wife's football team is the New England Patriots. If you were to take that ping pong ball and put it in the center of the 50-yard line at Gillette Stadium, the electron which orbits it would be out in the nosebleed seats. Everything else inside is quote-unquote empty space. If you were to make the ping pong ball the size of a grapefruit, then that electron would be out by Somerville. Everything else is empty space. So now, considering all these hundreds of quadrillions of atoms in our bodies, if we were to remove all the empty space from those atoms, what will be left of Ansa will be about the size of a grain of sand.
Wow.
Everything else in between is energy. And energy vibrates. You made mention of consciousness. Very famous physicist named Erwin Schrödinger. There's a very famous mind game in physics called Schrödinger's cat. But Erwin Schrödinger was asked how many minds occupy the consciousness of the universe, and he said one. It's only one mind. And yes, of the universe is one mind, and we are all expressions of that one mind.
Please repeat that for me.
Erwin Schrödinger was asked how many minds occupy the consciousness or express the consciousness of the universe, and he said one mind, and we are all expressions of that one mind. We are all personalities, individual. We think we're individual when in fact we are truly and completely one being. What hurts you hurts me. And when we begin to realize that, then we begin to cherish each other the way the Creator intended us to cherish each other. When I look in your eyes and I see the face of Allah, then I have arrived. When I realize that your life is as precious as mine is. Because it's the same life. We get confused because we have separate bodies. And that's the illusion. It's an illusion that we're separate. We are not separate. We are one. So to return to your question about vibration, if you were to, and this has been done by several physicists, in UCLA, and one man, and I'm not even sure he's still alive, his name was Harry Oldfield in England, who took it upon themselves to measure the human body using a very fancy magnetometer called a SQUID, which stands for Superconducting Quantum Interference Device. And what he discovered was that there were 7 locations along the central line of the body that emitted magnetic frequencies. And those 7 locations are coincident with what we know as the chakras. And they have their own vibrational signature. When a person is emitting an emotion, whether it's an emotion of anger or worry, or it's an emotion of joy and gratitude, those all have frequencies. measurable frequencies. You can measure them with a laboratory device like a magnetometer. There is a series of very ancient frequencies called the solfeggio frequencies. And there's a science called cymatics, C-Y-M-A-T-I-C-S. You can go on YouTube and look it up. There's a ton of videos. So if you were to take a metal plate, a thin metal plate, and you were to attach a signal generator to the plate and then put on the plate a particulate like sand or talcum powder or whatever have you, and then you excite the plate with one of these frequencies, what happens is that the particulate takes on these really intricate patterns. And these patterns are the same patterns that are displayed in the temples around the world, in India, in Tibet, in Rome. The windows in some of the chapels have these same patterns that are displayed when the solfeggio frequencies excite particulate. Well, if they're doing it to the particle, that's a two-dimensional expression of what it does to us in three dimensions when we listen to it. So that's what I mean by everything's vibration. Everything is vibration. It's like when you have a window fan and it's running. You can't see the blades, but you know that they're there. And if you stick your finger in there, you'll know very well that they're there. But they're moving so fast you can't see them. And that's a good analogy for what I'm talking about here, is that these structures are vibrating so fast that they appear to be solid. But that, again, is an illusion.
Wow.
I hope I answered your question.
You did beautifully. And that actually, made me more curious to know if these vibrations that we emit and the entire universe is emitting, they are so powerful. Can we use them to our benefit, and how can we use them, and what can we do using the right vibrations, and even can we control what kind of vibrations we emit using that energy or the skills or the talents? Either we can develop those talents or we have them innately in us. I'm sorry, my question is too long, but I'm just so excited
okay.
because they're too many things I want to know.
We definitely can control them. And the way we control them is by our emotional state. And so when you enter an emotional state, which is very strong or very powerful, you affect everyone around you. And I'm sure you've experienced this. When you may be in a great mood and you walk into a room where everybody's in a bad mood, and pretty soon you're not feeling as happy as you were. And the converse is true. If you're feeling down in the dumps and you get with a bunch of people who are in celebration mode, they're ebullient, then your vibration is raised because we couple into each other. It's like a transformer. I shouldn't have said that because I'm going to have to explain what a transformer is. But you have two coils of wire that are in close proximity but are not electrically touching. And when electrical current goes through one of the wires, it induces a secondary current of the same frequency in the other wire. And we do the same thing to each other. We're all walking antennas. So as we train ourselves to monitor and control our state, then we begin to be able to have agency over what happens in our lives, because the vibration we emit is attracting phenomena of a similar vibration to us. And so I'm sure you know a grumpy Gus or a Debbie Downer who is always worrying and dreading something, how bad things can be. And because they are using that emotion, they are supercharging the thing they're thinking about. And lo and behold, what they are worrying about visits them. In the same way, you have the cheerful Charlie or the person who is always thinking about how good things could become. And lo and behold, those kinds of things show up in their lives because they attracted them. They're already there. And according to the quote from Ali I just mentioned, they're already in you. So now what we have to do is be very discerning about our diet, not just our food, but what we listen to. Because if when we discover this agency that we have, and we take responsibility for our own state, then we become independent. And that is terrifying to organizations that want to control us, because a person who realizes that the only thing that affects them is their own mind is independent. They can't be controlled. And one of the things I studied intensely in an earlier part of my life was neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis. And as I became more educated about that, I became furious when I watched commercials on television. I don't watch TV anymore. But when I see commercials on television, they were using the same methods that I learned from mind control. Especially the drug companies. I became furious, and that's one of the reasons I'm on the warpath, pushing Master the Science of Miracles, because it is about exerting agency over our well-being.
Absolutely. So I would love to know, I would love to know more about the science of miracles. Please.
Okay.
Please.
It seems to be an incongruity when I say science of miracles, because the two things seem to be at odds, but they aren't. Spiritual science and physical science are differences in domain. So Arthur C. Clarke once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I became aware of a series of books that were written back in the 40s and 50s by a man who had lived on Hawaii as an Anglo, like me, had lived on Hawaii as an English teacher. And in addition to being a teacher, he was also a scrupulous student of human behavior and a scrupulous note taker. So he was observing the practices of the kahunas. The kahuna is a Polynesian word for a shaman, for instance. The science that they practice is called huna. Huna means a closely held secret, very precious secret, and kahuna is a keeper of the secret. And he was observing them doing these things, which we would term as being miraculous. And he kept asking his friends, how do they do that? How do they do that? And they kept rebuffing him, saying, oh, Max, don't worry about it. It's huna. You would not understand. And so he was not going to be denied. He kept observing, kept taking notes. And then, according to him, in one of his books, he said that one night he sat bolt upright in bed from a dream. And in his dream, he was shown that the secret to what they were doing and how they were doing it was contained in their language. So he changed his strategy, and he went to his contact, who was a kahuna on the island, and he said, would you teach me how to speak Hawaiian? And she said, oh, Max, it's easy. We stole a dictionary, Hawaiian English dictionary from the missionaries. You can have it. Go ahead, and we'll help you. So he began listening to the chanting that the kahunas were doing during their rituals, and then going back and unpacking what he heard. And he discovered that the secret to what they were doing was contained in their language, in the chanting. It was coded. And as he began to unravel the code, he began to see that they had an understanding of the conscious and the subconscious that predated Freud and Jung by 10,000 years. And they were applying it, which is why I have said many times that I consider the kahunas to be the first quantum physicists, because they understood this to the level of application. So I was reading one of Max's books, and there was I retraced his steps and tried doing what he had done, and had only so-so results. And I thought, I'm missing something here. And then I happened to be musing on one of the things he'd written one day, and I realized that he was reporting on what he saw, but he did not understand what he was seeing. And what he was reporting on was an exercise the kahunas would do in preparation for their ceremony that could be interpreted as something very close akin to Qigong or Tai Chi. And I thought, oh my God, they're using Qi. Their mana is Qi. And so I plugged in what I knew from my 50 years of teaching Qigong, and also what I learned from Jose about how to go to the right mental state, and tried again, and the results left me absolutely with slack-jawed awe. And I thought, oh my God, this is bigger than me. This is it. I think I hit it. So I took, I guess, 20 people through the system, just to be sure that it was not just me. And every single one of them who did the work had a similarly profound life-altering transformation. They were all different, of course. Right. And some of them seem more spectacular than others, but for all of them, they were very impactful because they made a change in their lives, which was miraculous. And so I wrote a book about this. I'm getting out of order here, but I wrote the book first because I said I got to capture this. So I wrote my book. I have not published it, so don't look for it. And I told myself before I can publish this, I got to make sure this is for real. And so that's when I brought a bunch of people through the system, and as I said, the ones who were compliant, meaning they did the work, because there is work that needs to be done, they all had a similar life-changing experience. It left them gobsmacked as well.
Wow. And just to be clear and for me to understand, all these 20 people, they came into this experiment, but they were working on individual projects for themselves, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
they all had
the system.
Yes.
It works in their unique way for them.
Correct. And so I selected people based on my knowledge of them, and I made it very clear to them that if they weren't going to do the work, please don't enter this program, because it's not going to work. This is not one of those things you can sit and wish for. You have to, if you're going to change your life, you have to change your life. And with those that actually did the work, they're the ones that really had the holy cow experiences.
Wow.
And yeah, that's what I said too.
I'm sorry, are you starting that group anytime soon again? Because I would love to participate in that group. I am. My website is done. The funnel is not done. So if you go and try to buy my system, you won't be able to. Not yet, but it will be soon. The system is enshrined in a series of either 10 or 11 videos that I made that bring the person through each element of this process. And once you finish the entire set, the instruction is to go back and do it again. Because this becomes a way of life. This isn't just something you do once. You want to change something, in your health, your relationships, or your finances, whatever. It is a new way of being in the world, a way of being with agency, with the understanding that you, Ansa, and you, all of Ansa's viewers, are divine beings right now, here today, right this instant. You don't have to earn it. You already are. It's just reacquainting yourself with those aspects of yourself. And so there's also, I'm offering a one-on-one coaching program. We can talk about that at the end if you'd rather. And what I did with all of my students was I worked with them. I didn't have the videos yet. And so I gave them the same instructions that I gave in the videos. Do this and keep doing it. And if you have questions, then we'll get on Zoom or whatever for 20 minutes, and I can probably get you straightened out. And so it turns out, and a friend of mine who is in a similar field to me
I was talking to him about this, and I said, I'm guessing one person in 1,000 could do what I did. And he laughed, and he said, "You're out of your mind." He said, "It's probably more like 1 in 10,000. It's not that you can't do it. It's that most people get discouraged. When they don't get the results immediately, they say, "Oh, to heck with it," and they scuttle it, which is the wrong thing to do.
Exactly.
Because when you make a change, even if it's a change for the better, you are going to get all kinds of resistance. And I'm going to once again refer back to the quote from Ali. The universe is going to test you and say, "Are you sure you want this? You really want this?" And so if you keep saying, "Yes, you have to kill me," the only way they're going to stop me is to kill me. When I went through boot camp, when I was in the military, I told them, you can throw me out, but I'm not going to quit. You'll have to kill me. I'm going to be here to the end. And that, if you take that attitude, then you will succeed. And that's the reason I developed the coaching program, was because I know this. I know this is going to happen. And so when I meet with my students, and I meet with them the way I'm meeting with you right now, invariably, they are anywhere from confused to terrified, that they've done something wrong. And I have to kind of talk them off the ledge and say, "No, you didn't do anything wrong. Now just look at it differently. And, how long have you had the situation you want to change? Well, it's not going to change overnight. You have to give it time." A great metaphor for that is an ocean liner. If you've ever been on a cruise, these ships are enormous, the size of a small village. And so when they're underway in the ocean, when the captain turns the rudder to change the direction of the ship, the rudder changes, but the ship doesn't, the ship's path doesn't change for maybe 5 miles. And so a good analogy for this process of making a change and why the change seems to take some time is the analogy of an ocean liner. If you've ever been on a cruise, and these boats are enormous, the size of a small village. So when it's underway in the ocean, when the captain turns the rudder to change the direction of the ship's direction may not initially change for 5 miles, because the rudder has to overcome the inertia of the ship. And it's a similar way with this. As you begin to make these changes in your life, they can be a bit disruptive because you're making a change. And there is a circuit, an acupuncture energy in the body, whose job it is to ensure your survival. And so it will go into a stress response whenever something changes, even if it's for the better. And so part of my program is to help my students to navigate through these challenges that come up when you make a change like this. And you will have challenges. You have to. That's just part of the science. So that's the main reason, or the primary reason, that I offer this coaching program, because people need it. Now, there are the rare people who can take this and say, "Oh, I can do this." And if you're one of those people, then congratulations, take this stuff and go, go, go. But if you're like the majority of people who need some guidance, that's why I offer my coaching program. So anyway, like I said, we can deal with that more at the end of our time today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I love the analogy of the ship, right? That you said the ship doesn't take its direction until 5 miles. So if somebody is observing the ship, they might be thinking like, okay, nothing is happening really. But underneath, the ship is preparing to change its course, to change its route. And
That's
you
right.
only see it once it's 5 miles down the line.
That's right.
So you have to be patient, but consistently putting in the work.
That's right. Exactly.
To see the change happening in your life.
Another great analogy is growing bamboo. If you plant a bamboo tree, for 6 months it won't do anything, or so it seems. And in that time, it's creating this massive root system. And once the root system has been created, then you can watch it grow day by day. You can almost watch it grow. It grows so fast. And that is really a great analogy for any kind of a process that causes a change in your life. Once it takes hold, you can see your life changing day over day.
This is so true.
And as you get good at this, you can affect changes almost immediately.
Right. You don't have to exert that much effort. You don't
That's
have
right.
to be in a certain mode in order to have that change happen, because now that system is integrated. It's part of you. You understand what vibrations you need to tweak at what point in order to have that change happen in any environment at any point for anything in your life.
Correct. And because of the work, your basal vibration is raising. And so as you continue to do the work, you're jumping off from a higher and higher vibration state until ultimately you become your own shaman.
Wonderful. So can you please explain the first principle of your system, which involves understanding the three selves, body, mind, and spirit?
Yes, of course. We've all heard about the idea of humans being made up of three parts: body, mind, and spirit. And so that's in most cases, that's as far as the conversation goes. However, there's a lot more under the hood than just saying, oh, I'm body, mind, and spirit. These are three parts of our being that have their own scope, their own set of talents and faculties. And to understand how they communicate is a major key to success in this system. So the conscious part of ourselves, the conscious mind, what Freud and Jung, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung called the conscious mind, in this kind of a science, the conscious mind is viewed as being a discrete being, which interlocks and forms with your subconscious, the person you see when you look in the mirror. So the conscious part of ourselves is the part that has ideas. It's the architect of your life. And that's what it does. It doesn't feel emotions, it thinks. It uses linear thinking, it uses logic, uses reasoning, uses the rational faculty. The subconscious is also seen as being a discrete self, and it's the second most mysterious component of our being. The subconscious is responsible for orchestrating all of the involuntary functions in your body. So your heartbeat, your blood pressure, your digestion, movement of lymph, decay and rebirth of cells, all of those things are controlled by your subconscious self, and thank God for that, because if we had to consciously control it, we'd be dead in a nanosecond. And as powerful as the subconscious is, it's very, very susceptible to suggestion. Now, the subconscious is also the keeper and the administrator of all your emotions. It stores and remembers everything you've been exposed to from the moment you were born until the present moment. They're all there. And the reason this is so important is that the subconscious self is the only channel of access between your conscious self and your transcendent self, or your divine self, that part of you which is a perfect or a nearly perfect reflection of the creator of all that is. Now, whether you call that creator God, or Yahweh, or Allah, or Huda Mazda, the Tao, the universe, it doesn't matter, because it's beyond our ability to comprehend anyway. We can know it by its effects. So going back to the subconscious is the channel through which these things pass. And it has the mental capacity of a younger sibling of 9 or 12 years old, which means that it desperately wants to please, It likes to play and pretend. It likes to be praised. It can be moody and a huge pain in the backside when it thinks that something is not right. Now, here's why this is important, and this is something I gave a seminar on. From the time we're born until about let me back up before I go down that trail. We occupy different brainwave states. So your brain has a beat similar or analogous to our heartbeat. And you can listen to your heartbeat with a stethoscope. You can feel it with your pulses. Your brain has a beat by its electrical signals. And these are called brainwave states. So right now, Ansa, you and I are at the beta, the fully conscious brainwave state. That's where linear operation lives. It's where we live in the world of three-dimensional limitations, the world of the five senses. Beneath that is the alpha state, which you go into as you're falling asleep, as you're waking up, as you are in meditation, under hypnosis. That's the alpha state. Beneath that is a theta state, where the alpha state is between 8 and 12 cycles per second. So that's the state you're in when you're meditating, when you've succeeded in being in meditation. The theta state is a state of a lower frequency. It's between 4 and 12 cycles per second. 4 and 8 cycles per second. And when you're in that state, everything is quiet. That's where you dream. And the lowest of these is the delta brainwave state, which is between 0.5 and 4 cycles per second. And that's when you're in deep, dreamless sleep. You have no awareness of your surroundings. You have no conscious awareness. Each one of these lower brainwave states, from delta to alpha, is considered a hypnotic state. And when you're in a hypnotic state, you are very susceptible to suggestion, and it goes in at the subconscious level, which means its effects are going on beneath your conscious awareness. So, from the age of birth until about 8 or 12 years, you are in a deeper brainwave state. From birth to 4 or 5 years, you're in delta. And if you've had children, when they're toddlers, they fall asleep, you're at someone's house, you pick them up, throw them over your shoulder, bring them home, they never wake up. Anything they're exposed to during that time goes in very, very deeply. That's why childhood trauma is so difficult to remediate, because it's in the subconscious. And the same is true from 4 until about, is it 8? Yeah, 4 until 8. And then alpha from 8 to 14. So all these things that happen to you during that time go in very deeply, and that includes the fears, the limitations, the prejudices that our surroundings, our parents, our uncles and aunties, our teachers, that they go into us very, very deeply. And anything we do here and now today that challenges those beliefs, those subconscious beliefs, will cause the subconscious to lock up and not cooperate. So being able to, first of all, clear the channel, and then to recognize when one of these complexes, as Jung called them, Carl Jung called them, when they pop up, how do you deal with them? And one of the components of the Master of the Science of Miracles system is something I call the personal demon demolisher. So the demons are things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not worthy, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too stupid, I'm too smart, whatever. All these things were categorically false. When we take any action or resolve to take action that challenges those deeply held beliefs, our subconscious is going to rebel, and it will not allow you to send your thought form and your energy to your high self. It will not. And so the personal demon demolisher is a system which uses a combination of energy psychology practices and energy medicine practices to clear the effects of whatever that complex is so that you can make this happen. And when I first discovered this, I was my own guinea pig. And I went through the whole process. I thought, oh, this is great. I got this figured out. I went into the alpha state to send my intention on a stream of energy to my transcendent self, and I could not get it to move for love nor money. And so I thought, well, this is weird. And so I used a process that I teach as part of the system to identify what the problem was and discovered it was fear. I was experiencing fear of being successful. It's not rational, it's subconscious. So I used this process on myself and tried again, and the energy flowed like a fire hose. And I thought, okay, this is cool. So I made it part of the system. So that is a subconscious self's job, is to act as an intermediary between our thought process and our divine self. So as you build up this energy of this vital life force energy, an excess charge of this vital life force energy, and you send it to your high self, the portal by which that is sent is the heart. You send the intention and the energy through your heart. The heart is analogous to a step-down transformer. So inspiration from the divine world comes in through the heart. Our supplications and prayers and intentions go up through the heart. They get stepped up going this way, and they get stepped down going this way. And so as you clear the channel, you send this energy with your intention to your high self, and your high self, when it receives and accepts, the thing you sent, you will know it because you will experience what's called the rain of blessings. And I won't take time to find it now, but there's a symbol that I use to represent my system, and it is a symbol which is an adaptation of an ancient glyphic symbol that demonstrates all of this. And the rain of blessings can be anything from a tingling around the scalp to overwhelming waves of gratitude and joy and love. You just come from nowhere. All of a sudden, your eyes are flowing with tears, and it's because your high self has accepted what you have sent and said, yes, I'm working on it. And so as this happens, your transcendent self takes that energy you sent and transmutes it into an energy it can use to actually participate in this world, because your high self desires to participate in your life, but it cannot and it will not until you ask it to. And the way you ask it is through the process I just told you. And in many cases, we're asking what we don't want. We're saying, oh, I don't want to be sick. Well, your subconscious is sending the message, Ron wants to be sick. And this transcendent self says, okay, if that's what he wants, well, we'll get him. So instead, you say something like, I wonder how quickly I'm going to enjoy being in robust and vital good health. And you go through the process I outlined in my system and just keep doing it, and it can't not work. This is a law of physics. Go ahead.
Sorry, I wonder what is the science behind saying, I wonder how long it will take for me to enjoy this particular phase in my life, instead of just saying over and over, I am not there yet.
The yet part is a tag ender. When you say, I wonder, how quickly I will, or how long it will take, I wonder how quickly, you're giving your subconscious an open loop question. And it cannot and it will not abide in the open loop. It will keep working until it closes the loop. So if we were together physically, and I said to you, Ansa, look at how the rug, and I walk out of the room, you'll chase me down the hall trying to get me to say, look at how the rug does what? Because I've opened a loop, but I didn't close it.
Okay.
So I wonder how quickly I am going to be fill in the blank. And if you do that at alpha, which I show you how to do in my program, it becomes very powerful. And one of the things that what Jose Silva discovered, was that when you go to the alpha brainwave state intentionally, because we all go to that state every day. When you're daydreaming, you're dropping into alpha. And oh, by the way, every time you learn something new, You're exposed to a new piece of information. Monitor yourself. Within 20 minutes, you'll be daydreaming. And that's how your subconscious integrates what you just learned. So when you learn to intentionally go to the alpha state and do your work there, the thoughts you focus on when you're alpha have a greater effect on physical reality than the same thoughts you focused on at the beta state. Because now, when you're in the alpha state, your mind is no longer constrained by time and space. So I can say, I am at my ideal weight, or I have a full head of hair, or whatever. At beta, I'm going to experience cognitive dissonance because my rational faculty knows it's not true. At alpha, there is no cognitive dissonance because it's not constrained by time and space. So I am projecting a future reality, and I'm experiencing it as though it's my current reality. And my subconscious has no problem with that at alpha. So now when you focus on things at alpha, they have a great deal more effect on physical reality. This was actually vindicated by a man by the name of Dean Radin, who is the chief scientist at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And he contrived, Dean's whiz is contriving laboratory-grade experiments to test things like this. And he was able to discover that everything I just told you seems to be the case.
So that is the science behind some people we see, they are reading their affirmations from morning to evening, but nothing is really happening because
Correct.
they're not in that state, right? The subconscious
Yes.
is not open, the door is not open, so it's not accepting those directions, and it's for subconscious mind, it's nothing. Doesn't matter how many times you repeat your affirmations while you're not in that state that you're supposed to be, which is the theta state. Am I correct?
Alpha state.
I'm sorry, alpha state. So in order for us to achieve our dreams and get in life where we want to be, there is a preparation, there is a system that step by
That's
step
right.
we have to follow. What happens mostly, in this age of free information and overflow of information that's going around everywhere, we just pick something from somebody and try to apply it on our life without understanding the holistic application of that system, and without understanding ourselves first, how we operate, how our body operates, how our mind operates, and how on the soul level all these three entities are connected and they work together. As you
That's
said,
right.
for our mind to create ideas, and then our subconscious mind to accept those ideas and take them to our higher self.
That's right.
It's a three-step process. But
That's right.
what most people are usually doing is just focused on step one, which is in my conscious brain. I'm thinking of the thoughts and I'm daydreaming that these thoughts will become reality someday, but that someday never comes because
Right.
I'm missing the other two more important parts, if I might say.
That's right. And when a person is using affirmations continuously and nothing's happening, then the thing to ask them to pay attention to is, how do you feel when you're making this affirmation? If you're feeling some kind of anxiety, then what you're affirming is bumping up against a subconscious belief or value that you were taught and you don't remember because it's subconscious, but it is as real as the sun rises in the east. And when you challenge that without some way of recalibrating the subconscious, it's going to oppose you every single time. But once you go ahead.
So these people are basically working against their own dreams.
That's right. That's right. They are. They're a house divided against themselves.
Wow. No wonder people don't believe in miracles and in magic and their higher self and God anymore, because they are missing parts in there that are super important in order to, complete that practice or have that belief in things and in miracles that you can create as a human being. You have the power and you have the authority but you have to know the system that you follow in order to, fully exhibit your power and your gifts.
Yeah, it's a process of unlearning, Ansa. It's unlearning the things that you were taught without you being aware of it.
Right.
The person who founded a system called the Emotional Freedom Technique, it's known as tapping, EFT. He said that these limitations are somebody else's graffiti written on the walls of your mind. And we mistake them for being our own, but they aren't. And when we challenge them, if we challenge them from the beta state, then we have all kinds of cognitive dissonance, feelings of unease and feelings of guilt, because it may have been a parent that told you this. Whatever it is, I mean, there's so many and they're so non-resourceful. I don't even want to give examples of them. But they are there. And when you understand that they are there and there is a way for you to clear them and feel good about it, then you've taken a huge step to reclaiming the agency over your life. And that is perhaps the most important message I could give to your viewers today, is that stop working against yourself. And it's not your fault. It is not your fault that these things are happening. You try these things like you just said. A person that recites their affirmations day in and day out and nothing happens. It's not their fault. It's that they don't understand how to operate this wonderful machine called the human experience. And we were not born with a user's manual.
Yes.
So Master the Science of Miracles is maybe the introduction to the user's manual, because honestly, I have got a lot more work to do. I'm not done. This is a work in progress, and I'm happy to say that so far it looks very promising.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ron. And when we hear about some things and new systems, and that makes sense for us, but as you said earlier, our subconscious mind is not yet there. It has its doubt, or our conscious mind, it has its doubt and skepticism. How to overcome those doubts and skepticism for our conscious mind in order to be ready to accept systems such as science of miracles,
right,
and apply
right.
them to their life? What would you say to those people?
Well, the feelings of doubt come from your subconscious. So your conscious mind, it has skepticism. It does not feel emotions. When you send these intentions to your subconscious, if those intentions are the things that violate your subconscious beliefs and values, that's when you feel the anxiety, the guilt, the skepticism, the I can't do this, all these things pop up. These are all the demons I talk about in my program. Not demons with horns, they're these demons that we have had impressed into us without our permission.
Right. When we were young and we just absorbed everything that we
Yes.
received from our parents, our society, our extended family, schools, peers, everybody.
Yeah, it's true. That's exactly right, Ansa.
So we have to let that go. So it's a two-step work. First, we have to unlearn what we have learned, as you call it, removing the demons, right? Once those demons are removed, then we are ready to accept the beliefs and accept the system and apply it to our life to really make the change happen for us and live the life that we truly deserve.
That's right. Exactly right. And there are parameters. There are things that excuse me a second. There are certain necessary conditions that your desired outcome has to satisfy. First of all, it has to be for the good of all concerned. It has to make the world a better place. It has to be benefit two or more persons, and you can be one of those two. It has to be based on the idea that you would only do to others what you ask others to do to you. And there's one more, and my train just got derailed. but those are the basic ones. And so if your desired outcome does not satisfy those, then it won't work.
And it ties perfectly back into what you said in the beginning of the program, that we must all understand, and it's a reality, that we all are one on the, the mental level, right? And energetic level. So if you desire good for yourself, ultimately you desire good for everyone, right?
Exactly.
And your system and your wishes and desires cannot hurt another person, because ultimately you are hurting yourself, because we are all one.
That's right. Exactly right. In fact, in Jose's centering exercise, one of the things he says is that you will never use these levels of the mind to harm another human being. If this be your intention, you will not be able to function within these levels of the mind.
I remember those. I do remember those by heart. So, as we are moving towards the end of this talk, and thank you so much for taking, this.
Well, thank you.
Really appreciate that. So my question would be, how can people overcome the skepticism? Sorry, you already answered that question. I'm sorry, I'm going back. So please edit this part. Okay, we are moving to next one. If you could give our audience one actionable takeaway to start transforming their lives today, what would that be?
Well, there's a couple of things I can think of. One is a way to help the process of clearing out these things that impede our progress. And so I'm going to give you a thing to do. It looks kind of silly, but it works really well. Okay, so the first thing is to take your thumbs. You see my ear right here. So you take each of your thumbs and you put it right in front of your ears, right in front of the opening of your ears, like that. If you'd like to, you can look at me and go blah, 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 like that. It's not necessary. Next thing to do is take your fingers and lay them on the forehead, right at the bumps, right at these nodes called the main frontal eminences. Just touch. And now, just take a few long, slow, deep breaths. And as you're doing this, you may find that you begin to settle and you begin to relax and you begin to enter a more resourceful state of being. Now, here's where all of this is powerful. If you have something that is bothering you, you're worrying about, it's making you angry or whatever, you're feeling guilty, then focus on it. Put your fingers like I showed you, focus on it, and just take a few deep breaths. And within 5 or 6 breaths, suddenly, even though the situation is still there, how you are relating to it is different. These points are called neurovascular points. They were discovered by a chiropractor back in the 1930s whose name was Terence Bennett. And he discovered that by holding these points, and there are others, it actually changes the blood flow in the body. So when I hold these points, when anyone holds these points, it causes the blood to flow out of the part of the brain that governs fight and flight. It's called the amygdala. It flows out of the amygdala and into the main frontal cortex, which is where our humanity lives. So you go from confronting your situation like an animal, a squirrel or an armadillo, to confronting it like a human. And now you have more resources. And that's one of the components of the personal demon demolisher. Yeah, and the other one is whenever you find yourself saying something that is non-resourceful, then immediately say, cancel, cancel.
Cancel, cancel.
Yeah, so we use the death word way too much. If I go to a new restaurant and the food is so delicious and I say, oh my gosh, Ansa, this food was too
good.
It was to die for.
Yeah. Yes.
That food was to die for.
To die for. Yes.
Yes. Well, you just told your subconscious this food will kill you.
Oh wow.
So you say cancel, cancel immediately.
Cancel.
And it tells, because your subconscious takes every word you say as an imperative, it will cancel out what you just said.
Yes. Similarly, we say somebody, to go break a leg.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
what?
Oh, my back is killing me. Cancel, cancel.
Cancel.
And then change whatever you said to something more resourceful. Oh my gosh, that food was the food of the angels.
Wow.
Oh, my back is bothering me. Cancel, cancel. So those are two things you can take away right now today. Very simple things, very powerful things, in just a sliver of my system.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh,
Um,
thank you, Ansa. This has been a delight, truly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Ron, please tell our audience where they can find you, where they can follow you, if they want to reach out and work with you.
Sure.
What is the process for that?
Sure. Well, hopefully in the next week or so, my website is going to be fully functional. So that's masterthescienceofmiracles.com. And you can reach me at ron at masterthescienceofmiracles.com. I just started a Facebook page by the same title. And so once you have processed this video, this interview is going on my Facebook page. So, and so that's, and I answer my emails. I can right now. I usually answer within a couple hours, every email. So as I get busier, I may have to hire a VA that answers for me. But as of right now, I'm actively working to get this system out to the world because the world really needs this.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. So I would encourage all our viewers, audience who are looking for something potent, a holistic system that would actually work for them. Please reach out to Ron. Check out his resources that he just shared. He's everywhere on Facebook, on his website. So please reach out, check out those resources, and I'm sure you will be amazed and super thankful that we had this podcast where we introduced you all to Ron, and Ron changed your life for better. So before we let you go, Ron, can you please just for me and for my audience, tell me what the word bloom means to you, and it relates to my channel's name, Bloom with Ansa. So if you could just tell me what the bloom word means to you.
Bloom to me means going from the potential state to the expressed state. It talks about what Aristotle called the entelechy. So the entelechy of an acorn is the oak tree. The acorn bloomed to become the oak tree. And we bloom by becoming one with our high self.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for such a lovely and deep definition of the word that's very close to my heart. And I appreciate you once again for your time, for your wisdom, and for all the good that you're putting out there in the world, and for being who you are. I would love to connect again with you and do another very powerful podcast after your website is live. So
Anytime.
we can empower more people, and we can do more good in this world together. Thank you so much, Ron, once again.
Thank you, Ansa. It's been a pleasure.
So thank you so much for being with us today. I hope this podcast was an opportunity for all of you to go deeper and learn more about yourself, about the system, the qualities that we already have as humans, and how to master the mind, body, and spirit and work them together in alignment to achieve your goals in your life. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to press the bell icon so the future notifications can reach to you. Keep blooming,